Hello everyone, welcome to the Redmen TV. It's the Redmen podcast for this week. Merry Christmas. In keeping up with the spirit of giving and generosity, we've given the lads the day off for the podcast today, and flip of that, we're going to be giving you free access to a load of the best bits of Redmen PLUS on today's podcast. We're going to be delving through some brilliant things in the archive, but some of the things that we're doing on a week-to-week basis as well. So we're going to have a good old chat around the Reds, around transfers, and speaking to some famous names along the way as well. Everything that you will see and hear on the podcast is available and streaming in full on the redmentv.com, which is Redmen PLUS, our Liverpool streaming platform, which gives you content in video and in podcast in your native podcasting app form as well. So you can get us at home, on your mobile, on the telly, on laptop, and you can listen to us on the bus as well. Anyway, enough from me. On with this week's podcast. All the best.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Redmen TV. Steve here for this latest edition of the Oppositon Preview. I'm delighted I'm joined by Jack from Leicester Fan TV to preview Tuesday night's game down at the King Power Stadium. Looking back at it, Jack, there, mate, again, you look through Leicester's recent run of fixtures. I'll go back, let's just say, in December. You draw with Southampton, you lose to Villa, but then you have the defeat in Napoli, but then you hammer Newcastle, but then the penalty draw with us, and the loss against City. It seems very, very up and down. Is that kind of the story of your season so far? Good, bad and ugly, and everything in the middle?
Yeah, I just think, you've got to take the rough with the smooth at times. It's football. It happens, but, when you've got injuries and that, it's not really great. You struggle to even make a squad. I mean, against Tottenham and Everton, them games got called off due to not having the inefficient of players. But like you say, the draw to Southampton, the loss to Villa, we don't seem to know how to defend from set pieces and that. And defensively, we've been all over the place this season. I don't think Cags has turned up. Vestergaard's been poor. Bertrand, waste of a buy, to be honest, even on a free. Johnny Evans, in Cags, they called him the best partnership, one of them in the league. Obviously, across on Van Dijk and Joe Gomez, but it's been a struggle defensively all over the place. Ricardo's been out injured. He keeps coming in there and back and out again. Castagno, he's not really the quickest, but, he's very good defensively, but not sprinting wise. But, we've been all over defensively this season. I think that's what's cost us this season with the amount of goals we've been leaking at the back. And we've got the most set piece conceded in goals, and that's 12 in the league more than anybody else. And that's been happening for 2 years now, Alan Shearer said. So it's something that we don't want to keep doing against Liverpool. Hopefully we'll learn our lesson, but we say that every single game now, but it seems to keep repeating itself.
I was about to say, mate, looking at the league table, you guys, again, the league table's a mess at the moment because of games in hand and stuff, but essentially, the one I was looking for is 17 games, 30 goals scored. You'll take that every day of the week, but 33 conceded. To have scored 30 goals and still be a minus goal difference. I know you've had injuries because Fofana went out before the season. It was obviously the challenge that happened in pre-season, but Soyuncu, Evans, you played Ndidi back there, Vestergaard brought in. Is it literally down to that, or is the more systematic issues in the team? Because Liverpool fans will know from the Brendan Rodgers era that at times it wasn't solely a defensive issue; it was the whole team weren't great at defending. Is that what you guys have felt at times as well this season?
I think it's been zonal marking from set pieces. If you watch Leicester this season, it's all the same stuff every single game. We don't seem to learn our lesson. Brendan Rodgers said there's nothing wrong from set pieces. I mean, I don't know what he's watching, what I ain't. But obviously you guys would know that at Liverpool, wouldn't you, from set pieces and that at Brendan's time at Liverpool. It's beyond a joke, to be honest, the amount of goals we've been leaking. But I guess players don't always track back, do they, who's attacking? And I mean, you defend as a team and you go forward as a team. I just don't think that's happened this season.
No, we'd suffered last season, Jack, with centre-half injuries, and one of the things we did, we put Fabinho at centre-half, and it kind of plugged one gap, but it made another in front of him. Have you guys felt that with Ndidi, because you've moved one of the best defensive midfielders in the country out of midfield to put him at centre-half? Is that been a problem as well? Because, like I say, in the end, how Liverpool fixed their issues was we picked Nat Phillips and Reece Williams, who are just young, inexperienced centre-backs, but that allowed us to play Fabinho centre-mid. Is that something you guys have considered, maybe that you might just have to leave Ndidi where he is and just and plug a gap behind them? Is that even an option?
I'm not sure. I mean, it's squared pegs in round holes at Leicester at the minute. We're playing players out of position. Indeed, he's not a centre-half. He's a centre defensive midfielder. We brought in Samare this season. He's a box-to-box midfielder. Youri Tielemans is more attacking than defensively. I mean, Johnny Evans has struggled with a foot injury this season. I mean, Cags is now out with a hamstring for like 3 weeks, so that's going to be a massive miss. Luke Thomas has had to come in at left back because we ain't got no one good enough to fill that position. I mean, Bertrand's not fulfilled his starting place at this football club at the minute. Vestergaard, it's just a lamppost at the end of the day. He just stands there. I mean, if you watch the Jota goal in the cup, he let Jota run past and then decided to move. I mean, what kind of defending is that? I mean, we're a defensive shambles, and it proved it in that second half in the cup game how weak we are in defence, and we just don't know where to turn and who to put there just to make the issue better. You
guys had probably one of the toughest games that any team will play, going to the Etihad. It may be one of the two toughest tests that any team get, and the fact that you get the second best team now in the league roll up a couple of days later, and you mention injuries and you mention no rest. I mean, it is very much like the odds are stacked against Leicester. Is that how you guys are feeling at the moment?
Yeah, you couldn't have picked a worse time. Yeah. You picked the two worst teams to play against in this position that we are. I mean, with the injury crisis and the COVID outbreak, and I'm not saying it's just Leicester who's had that, but it seems to be Leicester who's getting all these injuries all the time. You couldn't have picked the worst of teams to play against. Man City yesterday, 6-3 at the Etihad. I thought the comeback run, we're going to win 5-4, but then, we still couldn't defend after that. We conceded 2 sloppy set pieces, zonal marking again from Brendan Rodgers. But then you've got Liverpool, haven't you? Mo Salah, Firmino, Mane, Jota. You've got some incredible players there, very talented. Jota, and I guess he's filled the position that you guys wanted. I mean, he's ahead of Firmino now, isn't he? I guess that shows that Jota's up to doing the job for you guys. Salah, on the other hand, he ain't got the 11, it's heaven. The Jamie Vardy record, yeah. I mean, they had a Vardy record the other week when Salah scored. I didn't really know much about it until the game, so it's something that Salah's going to look at, isn't he? The 11 and 11, but obviously he wants 12 and 12, doesn't he, to beat that record? But I guess with Salah, he's a team player. He's not so bothered about breaking records. He's more a team player and wants the best for you guys. I mean, to play Liverpool tomorrow night with all the players we've got out and stuff like that, it's going to be very difficult. I mean, I'd just stand all the players on the line, to be honest, just to be on the safe side, put a coach in front of it, the team boss. That's the way we're going to have to defend tomorrow night, because Salah and Mane is going to be flying down them wings, and Trent Alexander-Arnold as well.
Yeah, park the bus. What type of team then, given the injuries, given you guys have had that game, like, what are we thinking the Leicester 11's going to be then, Jack?
Well, I'm going to go Schmeichel in goal because,
I'll guess that one.
He's on number one. Castagna's going to play it right back, I presume. Vestergaard's obviously going to keep his place in the team because we ain't got no other defenders. If Johnny Evans is fit, then that's great. He'll play. But if Johnny Evans isn't fit, he's going to put Wilfred Ndidi there. Or keep Daniel Amati where he is. So if we'll go Daniel Amati, Vestergaard for now. Luke Thomas is going to play at left back. Wilfred Ndidi. Youri Tielemans, Maddison, KDH is a midfield 4. Jamie Vardy is going to feature tomorrow night for sure. And Adamo Lutman. I can't see Perez. I think Perez is going to be on the bench tomorrow night. Iheanacho is going to be on the bench. I think we'll make changes from the Manchester City team, to keep the players fresh. I mean, we kept Vardy, Samare and Ndidi fit for the Liverpool game. So it's going to be interesting who Brendan Rodgers decides to pick.
Yeah, I think they're about with that one. Like I say, I wouldn't be adverse to seeing it. I like Ndidi. I think he's brilliant. So if he's going to play, I'd rather him be a centre half than in midfield, because I always think, I hate when managers do it. I hate when you cause two problems by moving one guy. If you've got an injury at the back, just put a defender there. Don't move midfielders around and stuff. I get at some point you've got to do something, but I think keeping Ndidi in midfield would be needed especially against a team like Liverpool who counter-attack so well. I think that might be the plan. Are you confident? Let's wrap it up then, Jack. Are you confident at all? What are your thoughts and feelings going into the game?
I think if someone said to me we'd have all these injuries and Manchester, I was worried before the Manchester City game. I mean, 4-0 down at half-time yesterday, I was panicking. I thought it could be more than this. But, it obviously didn't turn out that way. They obviously scored 6, we scored 3, so it made it better on the goal difference if you looked at it. But then if you look at Liverpool, they're on some fine form, aren't they, going into this one? But with all our injuries and that, it's very worrying to see how many goals are actually going to be at our end rather than Liverpool's net tomorrow night. We normally play quite decent against Liverpool. If Vardy can turn up, he'll score a few goals, I think. You guys hate Vardy, don't you? With a passion. Phenomenal English striker. Scores against you guys quite a lot, like he does other teams. But he knows a shit house, really, Jamie Vardy. He knows how to get the best out of your fans and any other fans. But, it's going to be... I think it'll be a good game. If we can stand our own tomorrow night and take that Man City second half into the Liverpool game and do it for 90 minutes, I think we'll be fine. But if we don't and we switch off at the key times of the game and don't defend our corners, well, we could end up with battering.
Hello everyone, it's time for a pre-Christmas Journo Insight show with myself and Neil Jones. Anfield Watch on Twitter reporting Liverpool are the front runners alongside PSG to sign Erling Haaland this summer. Liverpool wants a striker and Mohamed Salah is demanding reinforcements as part of his new contract demands.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot to take in there, isn't it?
Just?
That's three absolute haymakers. I don't think Liverpool are the front runners alongside Paris Saint-Germain. That's not saying Liverpool aren't involved, but I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's even a sort of a thing that there's a front runner really. He's in an unusual position, Erling Haaland. I was thinking about this quite recently, that he's probably has there ever been a player that is the whole of Europe wants and think can get? I think the whole of Europe want him. He's obviously brilliant. He's obviously going to be a success wherever he goes. But I think all of Europe's top clubs probably think we've got half a chance of getting him.
Yeah.
Usually you sort of look and go, well, Real Madrid will get him. Or, he's City. He's going to City. Or, whoever it may be. I think there's more than a few clubs who think we could get him. We can do the business. A lot depends on him. And he's not soft. Listen, his agent is one of the most high-profile agents in the world. We talked about people coming around and doing training camps. I mean, he's done that as an agent. There was a thing, wasn't there, that he was visiting the offices of Barcelona and Real Madrid just to see what's what and just make sure that they know what the situation is. I think he's...
This is Mino Raiola, by the way.
Mino Raiola, sorry, yeah, not Erling Haaland. I think it looks increasingly like he's leaving Dortmund, which there's no guarantee, but I think he will leave Dortmund in summer. And there's still a bit of debate about the fee, whether he's got a release clause, what the release clause is, how you trigger it, sort of what, if Dortmund have gone out of the Champions League, whether that impacts it, whether if they fail to qualify for the Champions League, does that even lower it further, or what? Is there a deadline on it? There's a lot of unanswered questions. I don't think anyone's got any clarity on that, and I've spoken to colleagues in Germany who are sort of a little bit in the dark and say, well, it seems to be this, but it might not. So I think a lot depends on the price. If Liverpool aren't in the race for Erling Haaland, then someone's not doing the job properly. Yeah. Same for Chelsea, same for United, same for City.
Particularly if the release fee is as believed, between 60 and 70 million pounds.
I mean, that's less than half his value, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I think he's that good. His record is absurd. Pretty much a goal a game, club level. And also, I know that there's this. You mentioned it before about Jonathan David and sort of judging players in other leagues, but this is in the Bundesliga and the Champions League as well. Yes. He's not. He's doing this sort of against top opposition all the time. I think his international record's pretty good as well. But I think Liverpool should be in the mix. I think they will be in the mix. But I think it all comes down to, I think at the end of the day, it'll be down to Erling Haaland and Mino Raiola. They will pick whatever, and they will have their pick as well. I don't think it'll be a case of, I wanted to go there, but all right, I'll go here. I think it'll be, listen, I want to go to you. I could see it being, was it Hazard who did it, where Hazard sort of had all his choice and he done a video?
Well, Griezmann
I am
did something
joining
to,
the European champions. And everyone's like, it's Chelsea, yes, Chelsea. But I can see that being a sort of thing of like Erling Haaland, doing his, was it LeBron James who did that as well, where he's done this sort of, I'm leaving Cleveland and going to Miami? Yeah, so
should be interesting.
I think there's going to be a lot more of these kind of stories emerging. But look, I don't think that tweet was completely sort of as set as it was written. I think it was come from a Sky correspondent from Germany who was sort of talking about it and was a little bit more general than that, saying Liverpool are in the race, quite are in the race. Want a striker, yeah, of course. Who doesn't want a striker who scores 150 goals in 150 games? Yeah. But I think there's going to be a lot more stories like that. And I think if you went to each of these clubs, Real Madrid, Chelsea, Manchester City, I think they'd say, well, we're front runners. Yeah. As well, I think Real Madrid in particular would think that they're front runners.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting one, nevertheless. But to your point, I mean, the thing about the fee. We know Liverpool have and will pay that amount of money for a footballer. Yeah. So it's not. It feels far more within the realms of possibility than saying Mbappe, who you go. I mean, obviously his contract's coming up, so that changes things. But
we were talking about. I think what I'd say, just to stay on the theme of Haaland, was a really interesting article. I don't know if you read it. If you didn't, and you have a Time subscription, I would read it, by James Gearbrandt about number 9s and the sort of guaranteed goals and why it's a bit of a false hood, the idea that you buy a number 9 like Lukaku to Chelsea, you buy him, and that takes you up a level, and actually how the numbers don't bear that out. There are a lot of clubs who buy a sort of a guaranteed goals, their goal scoring stays. Even someone like Lewandowski or Cristiano Ronaldo when he went to Juventus, it actually doesn't really change the team's goal scoring output. It just concentrates it more towards the main man.
It's an interesting point because it's a conversation we've had on and off around the office the last few weeks of this. You used to need to win the league. You needed a 20 goal a season centre forward and something else. Another really good player and maybe a boss goalie and a good. You know what I mean? Whereas now you need more. You need more. You actually need to challenge for the title. To challenge, you need 2 20 goal a season forwards, and realistically, you need more in beyond that. So you're right. You go. Well, here's your one guy. But what happens to everyone else?
And also
it's around it.
Yeah, and also it's we live in a tactical age, so the idea that your hopes would be resting on one guy to score it, and Liverpool don't do that with Salah really. I mean, you'd say that he's obviously Liverpool's main man in terms of goals, but I don't think Liverpool go into games thinking, well, if Mo Salah doesn't score, we're gone here, aren't we? I don't think they ever think like that. Whereas I do think there are clubs that have done. I think Spurs with Harry Kane is a great example, really, and we've seen how much they've suffered with Harry Kane's form when he's had injuries and that kind of thing. So I'm not. By the way, that's just a sort of an interesting aside. I'm not actually throwing Erling Haaland into that mix of saying he would damage it. But what I'm saying is, I think a lot of clubs would consider and say, well, I'm saying he's worth 140, 150 million. To some clubs, it might be, well, actually, we can make up that shortfall with 2 players or blah blah blah.
If you're a club that's got a guy. Well, like Bayern Munich being a good example of that. If you're just effectively looking to replace Lewandowski, then Haaland makes absolutely perfect sense because it doesn't change your total output. Absolutely. Whereas someone like a Liverpool, it might be that what does that do to the other lads? But I suppose the encouraging thing for that is Jota's been kind of doing that job this season as a centre forward. I mean, for a start, do Liverpool? I mean, everyone needs Erling Haaland, but do they need, if you've got a Jota doing that job, Liverpool we've managed to get 3 guys. I'd be
interested to know. I mean, it might be one in the Discord chat, but I'd be interested to know if I said to you, you can have either Haaland or Bellingham. I'd be interested to know sort of what the split was on it. I think a lot would go for Haaland, but I think there's a case to be made that a bigger difference maker to Liverpool might be someone like Bellingham.
That's an interesting one actually. Yeah, if anyone's watching, do let us know. Haaland or Bellingham. Now, I'd never even considered it, but yeah.
Haaland's more exciting, sort of like, he's an obvious sort of instant impact, isn't he? You can imagine him straight away just banging goals and everyone being excited. But I think Bellingham's got as big an upside in terms of, the future, and also the sort of skill set that he would add to Liverpool's team. If you think about, we watched Naby Keita last night. I'm sure we all sort of enjoyed that little 25-minute cameo or whatever it was from it. Fantastic performance. You think about having that for 12, 13 years with someone like Jude Bellingham, and maybe even keeping Naby Keita, you'd be like, wow, that's
the thing
transformative.
For me, because I think it's an interesting debate, is you're right. The thing about Haaland is when you get someone who's that talismanic, what do you do? And it sounds like a stupid thing, but you kind of have to think this way: what happens if they're not there? Whereas someone like Bellingham, he doesn't come in and have a transformative effect on the Liverpool's midfield. All he does is safeguard what you've got already. He's just he theoretically replaces Jordan Henderson in the long term.
Yeah, so I mean, it's an interesting debate. Yeah. I mean, we've spoke about both of them, haven't we? And I think maybe if you're Dortmund, you'd be worried, wouldn't you? I think one or both of them would be going. Yeah. I think Haaland will. I'm not sure about Bellingham. He will eventually. I'm not sure about whether it'll be this summer or beyond that. But listen, I think if Liverpool are doing their job properly and they're doing their sums correctly, they'll be thinking long and hard about players like that.
Absolutely. Steve O'Hare in the Club Legend Discord chat was just saying, honestly, Bellingham. Yeah, it's an interesting.
Well, I mean, that's interesting enough, isn't it? Because it does feed into this idea that number 9s are the glory, aren't they? And they're the sort of the Ballon d'Or winners, and they're the sort of the ones that everyone wants to get on the back of the shirt. But I think Liverpool, and I think Klopp has sort of, he's trained Liverpool fans a little bit to sort of to value and to understand the collective and to understand the Gini Wijnaldums of the world and the Jordan Hendersons and the importance of having jigsaw pieces and not just being a sort of a bit of a Man United where it's like, well, who's the sort of the hot property this summer, right? We'll get him in, Paul Pogba, Jadon Sancho, whoever, Zlatan for one crazy year.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned the Zlatan thing. I think that's an interesting point, because is he that thing where he ends up being a bit of like a gun for hire over his career, where he goes and does a few seasons. Steve carries his point on. He says Bellingham slots in and mixes with our amazing players. Haaland requires an ego to be massaged and a team to essentially be moulded around him. And obviously, still early doors in his career. We'll see how much that is the case.
Hello and welcome to the Redmen TV. It is the Stat Show with me, Chris Pajak, and today it is also with Andrew Beasley at BaseTuneToRed over on Twitter. Give him a follow, Reds. He's one of the top follows on Twitter. We're going to talk a little bit about one of your articles this week. You sent it over to me. And you sent me an Excel spreadsheet, which was lovely to have a look at as well, by the way. Go on, what was it you discovered this time?
Well, it was, as we were talking about earlier, whether Liverpool can score 100 league goals this season. It certainly looks like they're capable of it. Their underlying attacking numbers suggest that they can. As you can see there, their XG per match is higher than Man City's was when they got to 100 points. It's always interesting to compare seasons sort of like for like and with the past and stuff like that, because sometimes things just stand out so much that you're like, how is this even happening? But the thing I noticed with that when I was writing the article, it's all to do with clear-cut chances, which is a slightly subjective stat which Opta have, but it basically looks at chances where you'd expect the attacker to score. So a penalty being the obvious example, but also if they're clean through on goal with only the goalkeeper to beat, that's a clear-cut chance, that sort of thing. And what I found when looking back was that in 2014-15, the last full season under Rodgers, Liverpool had, I think it was 59 clear-cut chances, something like that anyway. And then the next season, the one in which Klopp took over, I think they had 65. And this is across the whole season. And at the time I wrote the article, they'd already had 60 in 21-22. And then they had another 4 against Aston Villa at the weekend, so now they're up to 64. So they've already beaten the whole total from 2014-15. They've equalled or thereabouts the total from 2015-16. And obviously they've been a lot better since. But you can see from the chart on the screen there, they've been fairly consistent, sort of 108, 109, pretty much without fail every season. Well, if they're at 64 after 16 games, it's reasonable to think they're going to go way past, 109 after after 38. And yeah, the thing with clear-cut chances, it's easy to remember that 3 a game is a good total, and not many teams have done that, because that would be 114 for a whole season. So if you look at the chart on the slide there, Liverpool have got close to that, but haven't quite reached that in the past. Man City have; they've gone past a few times, but it is rare for a team to average 3 a game, and Liverpool are going at 4 a game. So even if that may drop off a bit as the season goes on, to be at that level over nearly half a season is really good going, and explains why they stand a good chance of scoring over 100 goals this season.
Absolutely. I mean, I just looking at it, I extrapolated it over 38 games, and I know it doesn't quite work like that, but you can see on that end column, Liverpool would be the highest on there. Then you'd have 3, 4 Manchester City sides, one of them being this season, as you mentioned earlier. They got to 106. When I looked at how many goals a game we were scoring a few weeks ago, I got us to 116, which gave us quite a bit of leeway. But obviously that's all changed with 2-1-0 wins. We are, though, at the eyeball test. And this one, I think it's evolved a little bit since the first show, and I like this one. I've used FB Ref, which I think I did for the first one, thinking about it. This is Liverpool's forwards. I'm gonna tell the viewers at home, there's 3 players. They're all Liverpool players. They're all Liverpool forwards. They're all compared to other like players in Europe's men's big 5 leagues, the positional peers. I'm going to be a little bit sneaky and tell you that, you know, if you're a winger attacker, you're compared to winger attackers. So actually, and if you're a fullback, you're compared to fullbacks, and there might be fullbacks and defenders. In the defenders one, there might be attackers, wingers, there might be forwards, etc., etc. The percentile thing, Andrew, do you understand it? I mean, I think you will. Excellent. That's a great start. For anybody watching at home, the higher the number, the better, I suppose, in this regard. So you can see player A on the left-hand side there. He is in the top 1 percentile, or top 1% of players in non-penalty goals. Andrew is now going to work them out. The left one is player A, middle is player B, right-hand side is player C. Let's see how many of these players you can get right.
Well, I think player A is probably Mohamed Salah, just because he's in the top 1% of non-penalty goals, as you say. That seems fairly obvious. Okay. I think player C, I think, is possibly Diogo Jota, with the high level of pressures sort of standing out to my eye. 95th percentile for pressures, the player that Pep Linders calls the pressing monster. So that makes me think that could be Diogo Jota, which leaves the guy in the middle, who is the one I'm less certain about. I think it could be Mane, but that's not really based on a specific number, just that that looks about right for him. So that would be my guess for player B.
Can I point you in the direction of one stat that breaks this wide open? I think blocks breaks it wide open. Aha, yes, okay. Right down the bottom there. So that's probably Firmino then, is it? Correct answer. So there we go. We're looking at his top 1% in blocks. Let's have a look at this. On my screen now, you can see Mohamed Salah, player A. Roberto Firmino was indeed player B. And C was Diogo Jota. Very well worked out. I liked your thinking behind all of that type of stuff. We're going to move it on again now. It's the defenders comparison. Well done, by the way. So these are defenders. For 2 people who've done this today, they've assumed centre-backs. I did not say centre-backs, I said defenders, Andrew, okay? You might not consider them defenders, but they are all technically, I suppose, defenders. Talk me through your working out on this one, mate. Where are you going first? Are you going to try and discount one over the other by numbers? Well, I think, understandably, with Liverpool's defenders, as counterintuitive as it seems for most defenders, you'd have to look at expected assists. And player A is in the 95th percentile and player C is in the 99th percentile. So irrespective of everything else, you can probably assume from that A is Robertson and C is Alexander-Arnold. Okay. That's what I'm going to go from that. Okay. But the guy in the middle doesn't have much in the way of expected assists, so he's far more likely to be a centre-back.
Progressive carries. Oh, there we go. 98% progressive carries. So based on what I said earlier, I'll have to go Joel Matip for.
He's got all three. Fucking like lightning. Look at that. And the fact is, I've done this with 3 people today in the office, and they're not as versed in stats as you are. But I was trying to point them towards these stats, and you just gone bing, bang, bosh. All 3 of them straight away. That's fucking brilliant, mate. So as you can see, for centre-backs compared to the best centre-backs in the top 5 leagues, Joel Matip for progressive carries is in the top 2%. Trent Alexander-Arnold, let's just look at some of these stats for a second, because what we've got here is top 1% in expected assists, top 1% in non-penalty goals and expected assists, top 1% in shot creation actions, top 1% in passes attempted. Is that all the 90? No, top 1% in progressive passes. So when we say he's the best defender in the world, this is what we're talking about, isn't it? That's unbelievable. I'm going to move on then to your final quiz of the day. Liverpool midfielders. Where are you starting with this? Talk me through your working out.
Well, again, it's sort of referring back a bit to what we said about earlier, but player B in this section being in the top 1% for progressive passes makes me think that's probably Thiago. Player C, without much of an attacking input, those sort of red lines in the first section there, probably more of a defensive midfielder. So the obvious choice is probably Fabinho for C, I think. Yeah, possibly. Pretty good in the air. Quite a few tackles, interceptions. Player A. Who's player A? Let's have a look. Progressive carries is high. Has this got pressures? Oh, they're low on pressures. Otherwise, I'd have said Keita. So it's maybe not Keita.
Can I point you towards his 99?
All right. Yeah, that's a good idea. Shot total.
Lots of shots, lots of progressive carries.
So it's probably... I don't know, does Curtis Jones figure on this? Either Jones or Oxlade-Chamberlain then, probably.
Yeah, well, you got it right. It's Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, Thiago Alcantara and Fabinho are the 3 midfielders. So Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, more shots than the 99% of midfielders. Coutinho being the only person above him, I'd guess, on this if he's still playing footy. And loads of dribbling with the football. Thiago, you got it straight away just from the progressive passes. And Fabinho, you've worked that out beautifully.
John Achterberg, head of goalkeeper at Liverpool.
Most of the times I keep in touch with the goalies and still catch up with them. And so with Donny, of course, I asked him. It was in 2013, so it's quite a while. He said, yeah, we have now, because I asked, is there any good goalies? I said, yeah, just look at Alisson. He plays at the International. So I look and I like it, and then you keep following it. So, that's, but I do that with a lot more. It was not just Ali, you looking at basically what I do is every league who produce goalies, you look maybe 3 times in the season. If there is any new ones come in, write a report, watch a game and see if you like it. If you like it, you keep watching it. If you don't like it, then you can put it in. And if they have the right profile we set, you need a bit height in England as a goalie, and, it has to fit. You have to be athletic, you have to be able to, and if you for Liverpool, you have to be able to do every aspect. So you're looking at that kind of things, and so main leagues, and obviously Brazil. In South America, you do Brazil, Argentina, and then you follow obviously also the under-17 tournaments like the Euros they have there also. I don't know what the name is, but we can follow that. So you have all the scouting, recruitment, where you can see the game. So you keep watching that, and yeah, you follow all the tournaments, and then you pick them up. And obviously from the moment I saw him, I liked it. And then obviously you speak to Donny, and then, you follow it really. We wanted to sign a new goalie to make competition with Simon. And obviously I like Neto then in the way we played and stuff. He was at Fiorentina and we went there to go and but met his agent, met Neto, but Neto already signed for Juventus, so he wanted still to come to us but could not get it to change, so we had to, because we looked for a free transfer in that way, so he didn't come in the end, and he still wanted to come but obviously it didn't happen. So and Neto is played, obviously he's at Barca now, but he was at Fiorentina, so yeah. But funny thing was, we go out in Fiorentina and we met Stefano, and Stefano is one of the agents of Ali. So we talk about Neto, and then obviously Ali come back to the talks, and I said, yeah, I like what I see and I think he's good, but the problem is you cannot have him in England because no EU passport, and you need to be having so many internationals and stuff like that. So obviously then he moved to Rome, and then obviously you watch the games when he is playing and you keep following it like I do with others. Then we played Rome in USA, so the goalie was really good. I said to the boss, said, oh, the goalie is really good. I said, yeah, I said, that's the goalie I was telling you about. So but I did it with De Stegen, for instance, also when Brendan was here. He was at Gladbach. I said, Brendan, you know, he this and that. So a few weeks later, Brendan said, yeah, Norwich, I got a call of Chris Hughton and said, you know, this goalie playing for Gladbach is a good goalie. So I said, yeah, that's what I try to say to you, but, you know, but then of course he goes Barca and things like that. So, and in my first time, it was when I come in a job, and that's how it started really. Kamoli was the technical man. He said, Johnny, you have a few video tapes from goalie, go and watch them and let me know what you think. So from that moment, because I always had the passion being a goalkeeping coach after football, and I always thought I need to know, especially if I'm in this job, I need to know any goalkeeper around, because I need to find the best one. I want the best one because we are Liverpool, one of the best, so we have to be the best. So then I go to him, I said, but I did see two really good goalies I like. One is Neuer, but he was with Schalke then, and one is Handanovic. So obviously, for whatever reason, obviously he said Neuer is going to buy in, that is already done. But obviously I don't have this information, and Handanovic was at Inter Milan then, and Handanovic was at Udinese. But obviously we didn't do much with it, but then he got sold to Inter. So that's how it works. And no, you need also a bit luck, but the club also need to see if it's financial possible to do. Huh?
Well, that's the difficult thing about Alisson Becker, is that there must be a point where you go and love him, he'd be perfect. Yeah. But there's a point at which Liverpool had never gone anything like that on a transfer fee for a goalie before. Yeah,
and that's why you also have to respect the owners for what they did. I know they get sometimes not the credit for what they did. No, they redo a new stadium, they make a new training ground, they try to get a good team together with the recruitment, you know, and obviously the boss is a big part, and all the coaches, they try to find the best players, and you know, you work as a big team with it to try to make that happen. And that's how it a little bit work. yeah, there goes a lot of time in it because it was mad. And when I started, because I was started in Reserves Academy, I think I was doing 8 to 8, 7 days a week, non-stop. Because, but then I come just from football with Tranmere, so I was pretty fit. So, but
the knees aren't hurting quite as much at that point.
No, but yeah, that's true, and you had the energy, you're working for the best club in the world, so, you have energy, you want to fire, and yeah, so I was working 8 to 8, but then I come home and then I looking on the TV, any goalkeeper moving and on the laptop to making reports and writing reports to find goalies. So obviously I started with the first team and then I go to the younger ones and yeah, it was mad because there was weeks you do 80 plus hours a week and but that is it's your life if you like and that's how you work it really. So
it's it's dedication, isn't it? And again, you've got to actually enjoy what you do to be able to commit to it. Just on Alisson, when he does come in, you've scouted him, you've seen him, you've had your eye on him. What was that like though when he's in and he's signed and he's in training? Yeah. What was your first?
Yeah, but obviously I have to like him, but the boss have to like him because he is the man who decides it in the end. But also the recruitment, they make a video of him. And obviously they speak to the agent and they try to find out. So there goes a lot of work in. And I say, yeah, this is my number one and this is the only one I would sign. And whatever they do in the end, they all have to face the right way and that's how it comes off in the end. But yeah, that was, I met him at Melwood when he signed and he said, I tried to look for some training, he said, to see what you do. I said, yeah, but I don't put any training on YouTube because some do. So I said, but you don't have to worry. I know how it works a little bit and stuff, but you will see and we can always talk about it. So he joins us in AVM and he does with Andreas the warm-up. But already then I had to change the training because I started working and in a reasonable intensity and saw that obviously he still had to get fitter. So then you have to already adapt because if you put him over the limit, you can make him injured. So then he goes in the team training. Yeah, he made some unbelievable saves and the wow factor was there straight away. And then you think, we sign a goalie. Yeah.
Hello everyone, it is The Debate Show. I am Paul Machin. Stehor joins me in the studio and coming to us from his cyber Christmas loft, it is Ben Kelly.
So the question is the Champions League final tomorrow, Paul? Both of them are fit. Liverpool starting 11, I think, is Trent, was Alisson in goal. Trent, Virgil, Matip, Robbo, Fabinho, Henderson, Thiago, Salah, Mane. But who's up front for you? It's cards on the table. It's Diogo Jota for me. But is it Jota or is it Bobby?
It's Bobby for me.
Okay.
So Errol's right and you're wrong. Let's move on. Nobody better. Because I think Jota's fantastic, and he's obviously got an eye for goal, and I think he's one of the key factors why we've been so lethal in front of goal. I've got a sneaky feeling Bobby's going to score more goals this season, which will right a lot of these sort of concerns off, because I think a lot of this is based on this idea that Firmino's going to score 9 goals this season. Like it'll be a 1 in 4, 1 in 5 forward that he's kind of slipped to. Whereas if you look at his goals per 90 this season, it's much better than it's been. Now he's not played a lot of football, so it's a very small sample size. But I think he will score more goals. So I think we're naturally we're requiring our number 9 to be a bit more number 9-ish than we have done. It's very 17-18. Bobby Firmino scored 20 goals that season. He's got it. He's got it in him. And I think, but conversely to all of this, I think where the most telling factor lies for me, I would rather be bringing Diogo Jota on with half an hour, 20 minutes to go, because he can play left or he can play central, and it gives you so if Mane's knackered and you just want to refresh what you're doing without losing a level, you bring Jota in and you've got another goal, just an equal goal threat coming into the side. So it's Firmino for me.
Can I explain my thinking as well? I think the way we're playing is that we're setting more of those goals. You mentioned before the typical number 9. I think we're seeing more of those chances created. Bobby gets hat-trick of them at Watford, by the way. I understand that. He's got 6 and 11, but 3 of them what's happened against Watford. I'm not caveating them as bad things, but they were. But they're the type of goals we're creating. And I think if I've got a ball firing across the box, I back Jota to get on the end of it.
How did that work out at the weekend?
What do you mean? But he air shot at one, didn't he? but in general, I always feel like he's more likely to get on header in, or get on the front post and toe one in, or be on the pen spot, where I always think Bobby's always looking for the pull back. Jota's always the one making the near post runs and stuff. The goal, Southampton was it? The first one, very early on. That type of goal.
Well, all of Jota's goals basically come within the width of the goal,
unless he's skinning Allen, and even then he's throwing one past Jordan Pickford. Yeah, that's I actually think now, and this is kind of the point of the question is, it's like, I think we're more suited to playing with that type of player. We for so long we used to always say Bobby's the system. We are built around Bobby Firmino. If Bobby doesn't play, we're snookered, and everything runs through Bobby. And I don't think it does anymore. I think it actually runs through the Trent, Salah, or the centre midfielder on the right triangle, whether that was being Keita, it was Elliott for a while, it was Henderson for a long while. I think that's the style of play now. And I actually think Liverpool haven't evolved past Roberto Firmino, because he's fucking brilliant, and he'll play soon and he'll be brilliant, because he always is. But I actually think now we're getting more creative. The assists and the XG that Salah and Mane create, you're not for a fella to just be in the box, nodding one in or tapping one in. And I think Diogo Jota is the option that would fit better. So it's 1 for 1, Ben. Suppose we have to go to you for the decider.
Yeah, so I'd go with Firmino, but I hadn't really thought of the points that you. I'm not saying, I don't think I'm changing my mind, but I hadn't really thought of the points that Steve had raised. I think in general, I'm a little bit less observant and maybe just a little bit less understanding of tweaks to tactical systems and things. I don't pick up on those things quite as easily. So my argument for Firmino was that I think in any Champions League final, doesn't matter who you're playing, you're looking to get control of the game. And I think that Firmino helps you gain control of the game by dropping deep, an extra man in midfield, breaking up play for the opposition in midfield and winning the ball. And then my other argument to add to that was, we've still got the fight, even though Firmino may have dropped off a little bit, we've still got the firepower to get the goals from the left and the right. I had thought about the idea of bringing Jota on, and that was going to be part of my argument. But the point of the XG assists for Salah and Mane, I'm not saying change my mind completely, but it definitely helps me put me mind more in the Jota camp, because I think Salah, in particular, obviously we've seen Salah. I think he's taken his level up a game up a level this season, but he's also changed his game. He is a lot less greedy now, if you like, and I think he is. I mean, think about it. I don't think it was. Was it for Jota? It was for Mane. I think the first goal at Watford with the outside of his foot, delicious ball. And I don't know if he's got that in his locker 18 months ago, but he definitely does now. So I'd still go with Firmino, I think, because I think tried and tested, better the devil in a Champions League final, but I mean, it's close.
Suppose we haven't mentioned Divock Origi, by the way, in this conversation. League goals, guys, but see, I was thinking your sub argument I do get, but I suppose the counter is just bring Bobby on and put Jota on the left wing then.
Yeah, but it's just that thing of Bobby Firmino. And look, you might be right, but Bobby Firmino is...
I think if you're chasing a game, I don't think Firmino's the answer off the bench. But exactly. I think Jota can be.
Because it's to the point, if Firmino's the guy who's going to grab you a goal, then he might as well be your starting player and just score the goal for you.
Or you can just start a player who's more likely to score your goal, which is Jota.
Yeah. Yeah,
the whole chasing the game thing's great, or Jota could score 2 and you don't need to chase the game. And then actually, if you're defending a lead, Bobby's an amazing sub to have on, because you mentioned going back to the control of helping you win the game. Then you can do that. I thought we saw at the weekend actually, Oxlade-Chamberlain tried to play the Firmino role, and he proved how good Firmino is at it, because he was garbage at it. And
that's horseshit.
Okay, I thought he was rubbish, Oxlade-Chamberlain.
I thought Ox was really good.
Okay, I thought he was crap. But again, it flips things around.
What are you even saying on my other shows?
I thought he was rubbish. That's my opinion. I thought he was.
This is what happened. Have you been polluting people's minds on final word shows? Well, I've not been in.
I have been offering my opinion, I don't think Oxlade-Chamberlain was very good in that role. And I think he showed how good Firmino is at it. And I think again, Firmino's amazing at it. The more I watch Liverpool when Bobby isn't playing, the more I feel Liverpool have evolved past them.
Yeah, and you might be 100% right, but your feeling is that we might have evolved past Bobby Firmino, whereas it's a feeling based on a world where Firmino's had a couple of injuries this season.
That's true.
There were people 3 weeks ago who were feeling that Tsimikas was a better left back than Andy Robertson because he's played more footy than Robbo this season, because Robbo's had injuries that he's never had before. Yeah. And all of that might lead down the line, because at some point, those front three, they're all the same age and they've all put in a hell of a lot of minutes, and it makes sense for Firmino to be the one who starts to break down first. There's a chance he follows the Adam Lallana route there, whereas, the other guys are just naturally more athletic, I think, than he is.
Yeah, I suppose.
No one's ever turned up to Salah and Mane have never turned up to the start of pre-season. God, they've been on the AL there, haven't they? Bobby once or twice, you could tell he'd had a fun time. But you're right in that it's trending that way. But I think Jurgen Klopp, if it was today and he had all of his options fully fit and firing, he'd absolutely go with Firmino. So. Of course he would, because he would go with, he's going to go with his most experienced and his tried and tested.
Yeah, I suppose. The flip side is...
I'm right in that, though.
I don't know. But my thinking is as well, Jota's fucking boss. Yeah. And I think that we're talking about all these other, the caveat and the system he suits, he's really good. And I think it's hard to leave a fella. I think when you go into a Champions League final, your aim, again, really stupid, your number 9's there, it's a job to score a goal first. Well.
Oh, come on, Steve.
No, but listen.
As your right back's first job to defend crosses as well, while we're talking about the basics of that. It's not. Okay, go on.
Trent's in the team, like you say, his job is actually to attack. I think Jurgen would rather want his goal scorer on the pitch who's more likely to score a goal. I know that sounds crazy, obvious, but in years gone by, it actually wasn't, because Firmino, even though he was never scored and he was playing every game, and there's people he couldn't score a goal at Anfield all season, and he was getting flogged every single week and he couldn't score. So I think now, again, and I'm just pure guessing a little bit, but I think Jurgen might have seen the light of gone, fucking hell. If I've got these two lads on the wing and I've got these two lads at fullback who are just putting it on a sixpence from his centre forward, and he's just nodding it in the goal every week or kicking one in the goal every week, I mean, it makes life a fucking lot easier.
There's a very real chance that we're going to have 3 20-plus goal a season centre forward. And I said this for a week, so we might well end up with 3 top goal scorers in the Premier League.
And Firmino will be in double figures at 15 as well. Yeah, the place to be.
Yeah, no, exactly. I get what you're saying, but it's still that thing of until Jota does it for a season, and it does that thing. You're talking about a big game, like a massive game. It's still Firmino. He's been there and he's done it. He won the Club World Cup himself for us. He's scored goals in huge games for us. Now Jota's going to have to do that eventually if he's going to be that thing. But that's my point. I think at the end of the season, I think you're probably right. But if you're saying, as per your point, and you are at great lengths to point out that it's today. Today, it's still Firmino.
To be fair, Jota's... Sorry, go on, Ben. Sorry, I'll go for it. Just Jota's goal scoring record. He got 13 in 30 games last year. Mm-hmm. Is that not doing it for a season? Is that, you mentioned what he has to do for a season? I think he has. I think he's proven himself already.
Yeah, but he was the fourth guy that season.
He got crocked as well in Michelin, which I've never forgiven Jurgen for, by the way. I hold animosity towards that. But yeah, it's I don't know. I don't know if we holding on to the past. It sounds like I'm damning Bobby, because I'm not. I think he's brilliant, and there's games where Bobby Firmino is a great option.
I'm saying your point is the same as my point, only the opposite. I'm saying by the end of the season, if Jota plays like he's played all season, then it'll undoubtedly be he will be the guy. Yeah, and by the same as it's the same with the Firmino stuff. Your logic is that by the end of it, it's not that Jota will be gated. Firmino will have obviously dropped off a little bit by that point.
You might not even have to. I think Jota is at a level where he's just better than him now. That's just my opinion, in terms of everything that I want from my centre forward. It's horses for courses. I think, by the way, great place to be that we've actually got a fourth choice option who we know is going to be able to score 20 goals, and then your fifth choice option, if he can come on, and this fella over here on the top of the tree, if he can come on and grab late goals as well, we're actually in a good position to be in the Champions League final.
I watched that, I know it ends well, but it's such a fine margin, it's such a fine moment. Do you relive that? In the taking and then Divock making the connection.
I just feel like it was just meant to be. I don't know what it was, but if everything about the goal was I don't think we'll see a goal like it again, because it was too perfect. If you can, I don't know how to describe it. It was just right. It just, from even like Div knocking the other ball off the pitch so that the corner could come in and things like that, and the ball boy putting it on the spot. I wasn't even meant to take the corner. I was literally walking away to like go and get into position, and then just seeing it. I mean, I didn't even shout Div. I've just hit it in there at him. If he doesn't turn around, it's just a waste of ball that flies across the box, and no one even thinks about it again. I don't know. I mean, it was a risk as well, because if that doesn't come off, then Verge is absolutely going at me because I haven't stuck one in there for him. But mate, just even the finish itself is unbelievable. Like, how can you get at that palm the top pin? I don't even know. Yeah, it's still crazy to think about now.
It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. And obviously the celebrations are something else. You know, how does that rank for you? You know, that moment, that in front of the car.
Unreal, to be honest. We have a picture. We have a massive, I don't even know how big it is, but it's huge. Of that, of like from behind, you see us all. You see us all celebrating it, like all like linked together singing, and then you see in the corner Hendo doing an interview. And it's just like, how can you choose someone to do an interview at that moment? Like, you can't begrudge someone of that special moment because of an interview. It can wait 5 minutes. And yeah, unreal. But he's the celebrations were just as good as the game, to be honest with you. Just very, very special.
The big moment actually in that game, as far as Jordan goes, is half time. Can you talk me through what happened and the decisions were made over him, because he's injured, isn't he, when he goes in at half time?
Yeah, he's done something to his knee. I can't remember what it was, but he done something to his knee, and I think he was playing through serious pain in that, because I think you see at the end of the game when he falls down and like he's celebrating a bit, but you see him grab his knee, and it's like you can tell he played through some serious pain there. So yeah, I think a lot of players wouldn't have been able to play on with that.
Is it right that he just basically says, "Do whatever you can to get me back out on the pitch"?
Yeah, that's the type of player he is. Is like, I think he tried it again at Chelsea away this season when Thiago came on for his debut at half time. He tried it then, and he was like, "I'm not coming off." And then he just had to be told, "You are. You're injured, you are." You can't even kick the ball properly anymore, so you have to come off. But he's the type of player to like just always want to play through it. Always.
Absolutely unreal. Champions League final then. I mean, you talked about it already, but how much does the Real Madrid game, you know, set you up for this, where you're like, we're just not losing this one. We're not losing this one.
Yeah, it felt a lot different. I mean, you get prepared for it. Like, you know, like I said before, the event, it's more of an event, and you know that how big the game is. And I don't think Tottenham really knew. But even before, even the build up to it, we were just so much more relaxed and just treated it as a normal game rather than the Champions League final. I mean, we were way more prepared for it. I think you could tell that through the performance. I mean, it was a boring game, and as a neutral, I would have hated to watch it, but they got the job done, and it was that's all that matters. That's all that matters.
Yeah, the post match celebrations, and again, there's a couple of really iconic images, particularly of Jordan. There's him and Jürgen having a good cuddle and a cry in the middle of the pitch, but of course there's him and his dad. It's just a beautiful moment, isn't it?
Yeah, special moment. I mean, the journey that he's been on, like the the turmoil that he's been through and as a player has been unreal, and I think he could have folded and not being the player he is today, but the strength he's got mentally to play through things and to turn people on his side through his performances and his intensity is unbelievable, and it's inspiring to see him on a daily basis, to be honest with you. Just seeing how much he's committed to the game and how much he wants to improve and get better and help the team, and how he puts the team first is really unbelievable to see every day.
Tell me about the Hendo shuffle.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, obviously it started in Madrid, and I think I don't know. I just feel as though if you're gonna lift the biggest trophy there is, at least make it a little bit iconic. Don't just do like a boring lift. You've got to do something with it. He's just thought of it in his head, and it's unbelievable, and it's stuck now. He's stuck with it. The Hendo shuffle.
What was the feeling like? Because obviously it's already a mad moment. You know it's coming. He's walking towards you. He's got the cup, and then he starts doing this thing. But like, what's your reaction?
I didn't think it was that big of a deal to me. I'm just in ecstasy, really. I'm just like enjoying every moment, and I just can't wait to start celebrating properly. And then he's like, I didn't think anyone would clock it, and then it got to after. I think it got to the next day after everything had settled down, and we'd got on the plane back, and then I think that's when people started to ask him about it, and he's like, "Yeah, I just done it." And then I think the next one would have been the Super Cup.
Yeah.
And before that, everyone was like, "You have to do it again if you win." So yeah, that's when it stuck.
Thank you so much for watching or for listening to the podcast this week. Normal service will resume from next. I hope you've enjoyed everything that we've put in for you. Just give you a little bit of a taster of what we do over on Redmen PLUS, which is a bit like Netflix for Liverpool fans. Documentaries, features, interviews, stats, pre and post game content in video and in podcasting form. We have got you covered. Even on those random circumstances when games are cancelled, we are still here. So yeah, if you want more Liverpool in your life, more bonus Redmen content and more Liverpool culture, then please do try out Redmen PLUS, and I hope you enjoy it and have a wonderful Christmas and New Year. Cheers. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you want more from us, consider joining Redmen PLUS, our Liverpool streaming service. It's like Netflix for Liverpool fans. Fantastic documentaries, interviews, features, and learn more about the culture of the club, as well as bonus Redmen shows as well. And if you join as a club legend, you get your name there, theredmentv.com.